we talk about the trilogy that happened over this weekend, I wanted to actually just bring up something real quick about Francis Ngannou. He was on the MMA Hour with Ariel Hawani, and he was just talking about, obviously, he's talking about things going on with John Jones, the promotion, and what's his next plans. But one of the interesting things that he said is he might sign to PFL or he might sign to ONE FC. And I just wanted to get your quick thought on that before we move on to the next thing.
At first, I wasn't necessarily sure if him going to, I would guess, either of the organizations would be the right move. I think that him going to ONE FC leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think there's any heavyweight contenders over there that would necessarily make for interesting fights for Francis Ngannou. PFL, there might be like one or two fights for Francis that I think that would be good for him. Otherwise, outside of that, that's really the biggest problem with him fighting MMA anywhere else. At least in PFL, maybe he can fight two people, give them time to build up another contender for him to fight down the line, or maybe a couple. But I think him fighting outside of the UFC at the least would be beneficial for fighters' rights.
Okay, so how do you feel about the UFC, not the UFC, excuse me, the PFL supposed super division where they're going to have super fights and stuff on pay-per-view? Do you think Francis could thrive through there?
I mean, sure, but I think that's more or less for, hey, we need to give the champion somebody else to fight. That's not somebody in the tournament. You know what I mean? Because we want them to fight multiple times in a year. There's not the people who they want Francis to fight are already in the PFL. So that pay-per-view division probably wouldn't do much for him unless there's some random fight, let's say a boxer wants to come over to MMA or something like that, which I don't think that's necessarily going to happen there.
Okay. So where do you think Francis is going to sign? Do you think he'll go to PFL? Do you think he'll do ONE FC? Or do you think that he'll do what everybody hopes he does, is come back to the UFC?
Of course, I hope he comes back to the UFC, but I see him more than likely going to the PFL because I think they're more willing to give him at least most of his demands, if not all of them.
Okay. Fair enough. Now,